Today on Podcast Them Down, we find out how insane my music archival ritual is. Podcast Them Down. Welcome to Podcast Them Down. I'm Tim Regan from U.S. power metal band Burning Shadows, Fade to Black Metallica tribute, Dual-Violin folk metal band ISENMOR, and recently vacated Graves true zombie metal. Be sure to subscribe, like, or follow. And now, on with the show. So I am joined by Mike from RVG, TZM, and ISENMOR, and I am once again on location in the. Dave had some good code words to call where I am, but and then he just said New York. So we all know I'm in New York now. So I'm on location in New York.
And I've got, this is what I would look like with hair right here.
just one band of hair.
Yeah, I'm like Charlie Brown grown up, basically. And if you're in audio form only, I'm wearing headphones. And my joke is that the band on top of my headphones looks like my hair.
Also, if you're listening, I am holding a microphone type device because
a Zoom.
I forgot to bring my little tripod. You know, it didn't. I should have put it in my bag for when I went on location.
I actually have one that I'm not using anymore, and it's like one of those bendy ones that would probably be perfect for something like that.
Yeah, wouldn't
just to
it?
Put it in your bag.
Yeah, just drive it up here.
Yeah, all right, will do. Next time I see you, I'll just hand it off if I can find it again. I saw it recently.
Yeah, so I got a couple new CDs recently, and the amount of steps I go through to get everything where I need it to be and for what I want it to do, I realized might be a little insane. So I wanted to go through the whole thing.
Okay.
And tell you why.
I can appreciate a well thought out process.
Yeah, so you being Mike and you being everyone listening. So let's address the elephant in the room. I still buy CDs. I know I'm in the minority.
Fuck, man. The fuck is wrong with you?
I like CDs.
Yeah.
You know, I like owning something. The previous episode we recorded on location. Who knows what order these are going to air in or when they're going to air? But the previous one, I went off about Spotify, and I don't like Spotify. And I always chuckle to myself when people complain that something has been taken off Spotify. It's like, I don't have that problem.
So I'm not particularly fond of Spotify either. And for similar reasons, just being beholden to. I mean, for one, I like to curate my music, where I have like a collection of sorts. Now, that being said, when I hit random on it, I do find myself frequently going like, "Oh, why do I still have this band?"
Fair, but I might have something towards a solution for that.
Okay, but the other thing is, I will occasionally buy CDs as well, and I usually lose them. I I rip them and then they're gone. I have no idea where any of them are.
Yeah, so basically, I like how far we've come in terms of convenience and stuff like that. So I want to be able to enjoy a Spotify-like experience without Spotify being involved. And if you're listening to Podcast Them Down on Spotify, thank you. That is a good way to listen to it. It's a good use of Spotify. So podcasts, especially Podcast Them Down, are very encouraged by me on Spotify. Not so much music. I could explain, but I feel like I've already explained. So just go listen to past episodes.
Or future episodes,
or
depending.
Future episodes, or this episode. Maybe I'll come back to it. But so basically, I still buy CDs. I like having the CD. I like having the booklet. I like having the artwork. You know, it's a sense of accomplishment. However, you can't stream a CD. You know, if you want to just listen to whatever, you have to go and get it and put it in the CD player and all that. And I do that when I'm at my stereo. So I still have a stereo. Apparently that's a declining thing too, but I have a home hi-fi stereo. And then, but for every day on the go listening,
Right.
here's what I do. I rip the CD to FLAC.
Mm-hmm.
I use a program called Music Bee, which is like Winamp, but
I've
it's
used
been
Music Bee.
modernized.
Yeah, I've used it. It's disappointing how nothing quite scratches the Winamp itch.
Right. It's pretty close. I think it's pretty close, and it's highly customizable.
Mm-hmm.
So now I have the album as a series of FLAC files, and right off the bat, I bet there are other purists who think that is not a good way to do it. I should be ripping it to a FLAC with a Q. So a FLAC with a Q is a FLAC file of the entire CD with a file that basically says where all the songs start and end.
That sounds like nonsense.
Yes, but that is the thing you can do. I don't do it. I do it file to file, probably just because I started it that way.
What would the advantage be? What would the advantage be for doing FLAC with a Q? Just that it's a very accurate picture
Yeah.
of the whole disc.
I believe you could recreate the disc bit for bit that way.
I mean, how important is that? Like,
It depends how anal you want to be. But you would have, for example, all the pre-rolls, and if there's audio in those pre-rolls, which is negative time before zero on a CD track, that is lost if you just record it if each track is its own file.
Would it hypothetically be easier to do gapless playback with FLAC with the Q?
Maybe, but I think it would also be it would be harder to listen to a specific song on a CD because it has to seek into the file, I think. I'm not entirely sure. See,
I mean, so I'm sorry. Let me turn on my nerd hat. It shouldn't be too bad. I mean, so long as the file format supports streaming, right? You should be able to just seek to like if the Q tells you the offset in the file, you just go to it. It should be okay.
It should be.
So it's a few reads.
So it might help to explain what FLAC is. FLAC, I forget what F is, but it's a lossless audio codec. So basically, it perfectly recreates the waveform, unlike MP3, which is a lossy codec. Most people can't hear the difference. I'm not claiming that I can hear the difference, but it is a fact that you are losing information if you do an MP3 or any lossy audio format. So, and you know, if you're just listening on your phone or whatever, it's not going to matter. But if you're listening on a nice stereo, maybe it does matter. And you can train yourself to be able to tell the difference. I don't recommend this.
It should also be noted that you can do like wave format, which is just so FLAC has some degree of compression.
Data compression.
Wave is just raw, so the resulting files are significantly larger. Though FLAC files are significantly larger than MP3s.
Yeah, so it's a nice so FLAC, you get the perfect audio waveform at a reasonable size. Okay, so now I have a bunch of FLACs. That's great. I add them to my FLAC library in Music Bee. And from there, I can add them to my MP3 player or digital music player. So, yeah, not only do I still buy CDs like it's 1994, but I also still have an MP3 player like it's 2005. And this one in particular is a Sony Walkman, like it's 1985. My method has already transcended decades with with a single purpose devices and everything. So now I can have FLAC at any time, but I can't stop there. So when I have ripped the FLAC, you have to tag it right.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to put in all the song titles, and Music B does a lot of this automatically, or as much of it as it can automatically. But sometimes you have to go seek out the album art and embed those in the file. So now you have all the artwork in your file too.
So can I derail you for a second?
Sure.
Do you know how Music B obtains this?
It looks it up on Music Brains, and I think,
Okay.
and several other services. And now I've tried Music Brains Picard, and I don't like it, and I don't remember why I don't like it. If that's where we're going.
I actually do use Music Brains. I use Music Brains and I use Picard. And that we could save that for maybe later in the podcast. But okay, I was just curious. So for those who don't know, Music Brains is like a album tagging repository, and it's supposed to be somewhat authoritative. But that being said, it's community sourced, so you occasionally get errors.
Right. So I think the problem with it is they do not have the correct heavy metal oversight. So they are going to mislabel genres, which is the next thing. So I have to go in and put in the genre, what I just ripped really is. Not because if you just leave it up to the crowdsourced stuff, everything's going to be metal or rock or heavy metal. No, this is black and folk metal. This is European power metal. So I have all my genres together as well. Okay, so
you've already gone past me.
Right. So now we've got a file for each song. We've got embedded artwork at the biggest resolution I can find, preferably 1500 by 1500. This becomes important later. We've got the genre right. We have to get the capitalization right in the song titles and the album titles, because that, I don't know why, that drives me fucking nuts when the capitalization is wrong. So if needed, and usually the automatic tagging that I start with is very good about capitalization, but every so often they get it wrong. So what you want to do is go to songcase.com and put in the song title, and it will tell you most likely what the capitalization is. They are not a sponsor, but I use them quite a lot.
I had no idea that this existed.
Mike, it gets worse. It gets worse.
All right.
Because next you have to put in lyrics. You can embed lyrics in the tag.
And you actually do it, huh?
And I do it. And it is, so in Music B, you can, like, if you want to leave it overnight, you can just select your entire library, hit update missing lyrics, and let it do its thing. But the problem is, it has a hard time identifying, like, matching up songs. So often you'll get the wrong song by the right band because it's not 100% perfect. So what I like to do is go straight to the source, either Bandcamp, as I said before, the best way to support bands. If the band has uploaded the lyrics, I grab them straight from there. Otherwise, I go to Metal Archives, get them there. If they're not in those two places, it's unlikely you'll find them anywhere else.
You're going to type them.
If I have to. So I don't know if it's come to that before. But
that's impressive. I've seen that tag, but I've never... Like, the idea is intriguing, right? You could potentially use the tag for, like, karaoke sorts of things.
So I'm glad you bring this up. This is a perfect segue. So if you want to do karaoke, you need .lyr files, I think,
Okay.
to be accompanied with your lyrics. So there is a tag in FLAC and MP3 for lyrics, but you can also do synchronized lyrics which have little time codes.
Okay.
So it
That makes
knows
sense.
when to bring up the lyrics. So
Oh
those are
God. I
very hard to find,
was gonna say you must
especially
have to
for metal.
generate
So
those.
I don't mess with that. However, remember the Walkman I brought up?
Yes.
So when you go to sync it to the Walkman, this thing actually can, ooh, if I can hit the right button, can display lyrics. Those karaoke style synchronized lyrics is the only type of lyrics that the Walkman can handle, right?
Huh.
So it can't, for whatever reason, it can't deal with the lyric tag. So if you want lyrics displayed on your Walkman, you have to generate the karaoke style synchronized lyrics. So I wrote a Python script that does just that. So here's what you do. After you've synced it, the all the files exist on the Walkman. Then what you do, and the lyrics are in the tag. So then my script that I wrote goes in, opens each file. Well, first it checks if the lyric file already exists. If it doesn't, it opens the file, extracts the lyrics from the tag, and makes the synchronized lyrics file. But instead of synchronizing, it just says all of the lyrics start at 000.
Which is fine.
Right. So
That makes sense.
then you just have all the lyrics. So so now I've gotten around that. So now I have lyrics on my MP3 player.
Question: do you have to run the Python script manually?
Yes. So
Oh.
it is a separate step.
You plebeian.
Yeah. Well, I never claimed I was good.
Sorry, that was a little strong.
This is like I said, this is my insane multi-step ritual that worked for me. So, all right. So now the lyrics are on. Then I was noticing the artwork isn't always showing up, and I made sure to embed that artwork, didn't I?
You have to use a different tag.
Close. Apparently, the Walkman, for whatever reason, doesn't like huge files. Remember when I said I'm looking for 1500 by 1500? Well, luckily, someone at Music Bee apparently had the same problem, and there is an option to reduce the size of the embedded artwork. And so you have to make sure to tick that box for anyone who's using Music Bee to put their FLAC collection on their Walkman. I might be the only one in the country or the planet even doing such a thing, but there is a box to tick. All right, so now we're pretty much set up with the Walkman, I believe. Let me just make sure. Oh, there is also an option to change the level of compression on the FLAC file. So this is the level of data compression because there are a lot of methods it can do. For a while I was doing everything at medium compression, but you can make the file smaller if you turn up the data compression, which again, it perfectly recreates the audio. It just makes it a smaller file and it takes longer. That's the only reason you'd want to use less compression. So I figure
It doesn't. It doesn't have a.
Yeah, if I'm syncing, I'll crank it up. So I also make sure that it's always at the maximum compression so I can fit the most files onto my Walkman.
Does it have a performance impact on playback?
I have not noticed any. I believe I believe the philosophy behind FLAC is to make it very intensive in the encoding phase and very easy on the decoding phase.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep. All right, so we're done with the Walkman. we're done. We can move on finally because now it's time to add it to the MP3 library. But we've already done all the hard work. So Music B, easily convert to MP3. Then you switch libraries to the MP3 library and dump it in there. Now, my MP3 library has much more crap in it.
Okay.
So the FLAC stage is only for the best of the best. And the last thing I actually put in there is the Duskmore and Fallen Kings and Rusted Crowns album. So that's the newest thing that's in there.
Plug for both Duskmorn and the Podcast Them Down episode where we interview them about
That's right. Yeah. So
link somewhere. I don't know how you do this.
just scroll up, and if it's not there, scroll down. Okay. So now it's in the MP3 library, whatever. That's just for convenience. And also keep the FLAC library tidy, because if I'm not going to listen to it, I don't need it. I don't keep it in the FLAC library. It will stay in the MP3 library because, who cares? That's your McDonald's. Your steakhouse is the FLAC library.
You got the Ruth's Chris over here.
And maybe if I'm going to put them on my phone or something, they're going to come out of the MP3 library. Because if I'm listening on the phone, it doesn't matter. But if I'm listening on a FLAC player, it does matter. So,
fair enough.
And maybe if I'm plugging the FLAC player into my stereo, it matters. All right. So now Plex comes into the equation.
Very nice.
So I had a former bandmate introduce me to Plex when we were out of town, and we were at a hotel, and we had some time to kill, and he goes, "You want to watch Beavis and Butthead?" I go, What do you mean? It's not on Netflix or anything, is it? He's like, "No, it's on Plex." I'm like, "What's that?" "You host your own Netflix." This is what he says to me, and I'm like, "What? No way!" So he put on Beavis and Butthead, and when I got home from that tour or whatever it was, those shows, the first thing I did was install Plex, because I have a litany of DVDs and this entire music collection, this digital. So Plex will host. You host your own Netflix and your own Spotify. So it is a good Spotify replacement, but you need to provide all the content.
Can I be slightly pedantic?
Sure.
You do host it yourself, but there is some dovetailing with Plex's own services. So to enable some of the services that Plex offers, you need to actually pay. And they offer monthly, I think they offer monthly, yearly, and then like a lifetime subscription. The lifetime subscription is expensive, but if you're going to use it, it probably pays off pretty quickly.
So for the first year or so, I did the yearly, and then the lifetime went on sale, and I got the lifetime. But you can still, you don't need the lifetime to set, or any subscription to set this up. It just gives you more features. And I think it's an amazing service. So that's why I paid for the lifetime. So now I have a whole copy of my MP3 library on my Plex server in an MP3 library on Plex. And then I did the same for the FLAC. So it will transcode all this stuff.
Okay.
So it'll stream all your FLAC, and it'll stream all your MP3 to whatever devices you want. And then since I have the lifetime pass, I've been using Plex Amp, which sets up radio stations, so-called radio stations. They're just they're just smart playlists. Sets up smart playlists.
Right.
They got some great transitions. They have some kind of beat detection and key detection that they line up the songs perfectly. It's very satisfying. So
That's pretty cool.
So I believe that might be everything. So yeah, from a CD, it gets a lot of work up front, getting it all tagged and categorized correctly. And then it's put on my MP3 player. It's copied to the MP3 library. I keep calling it an MP3 player. It's a FLAC player. It goes into the MP3 library. It all gets copied again to the Plex server. And then I can listen to it. Finally. So, it's a burden to get multiple CDs at once. So this also, my CD buying has slowed down
Right, which
lately
yes,
too.
it's the same for me too.
Yeah, which does enable this ecosystem I've created. Oh, and then I forgot the most important part. The CD goes on the shelf generally where it should be in the alphabet.
Nice.
It is not perfectly alphabetized.
There's a failure. There's a weakness right there, right?
Well, you could call it a weakness, but you know how like at the grocery store, I'm in New York. I should say Wegmans. You know how at Wegmans they'll just move everything around for no reason?
Yeah.
That is designed to get you to walk by more products. And maybe if I knew exactly where everything was, I wouldn't be looking past all the CDs.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, I should listen to Blazing Stone. I'm looking for Burning Shadows.
Oh, okay. That's pretty clever. I
I
like
should
that.
listen to Incantation. I'm looking for ISENMOR, though. Yeah. And I do have some vinyl, but like, since my CD stuff is so ridiculous, I'm extremely selective about vinyl. So
Yeah, I
my
basically
vinyl fits on one shelf.
I buy vinyl just to like have it.
It's nice to have the huge artwork.
Yeah. I got the Strong Bad Sings vinyl.
What? Do you have a record player or no?
No, well, sort of.
Oh,
Wait.
I think you should bring it over, and I think we
hold
should
it.
listen to it.
Give me like 1 second. Fill some dead air.
Fill some dead air. So, how insane is my method? A scale of 0 to 10. Is it ridiculous? Is it insane? Leave a comment wherever this is posted. It works for me, and I don't know if that helps or not. Oh, watching you put on those headphones is just so.
Yeah, broken wrist is not.
Yeah, you're still broken.
Strong Bad Sings.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's a bonus for the video viewers. But yeah. I haven't even taken it out of the shrink wrap. I just saw that it was there.
I take back my offer to listen to it. You need to keep it in the shrink wrap.
I mean, I bought the CD like when it came out. You know what I mean? So I bought, but this was released fairly recently. So I was like, yeah, I'm doing that. All right. So I can go a little bit into my process. It's not as detail oriented as yours.
It's probably a lot more pragmatic and less. Let's just say less insane.
Depends on your definitions.
Ooh.
Okay. So, as a general, I have a thesis statement, which I had. If you watch the IEM episode, I mentioned, I think, having a thesis statement about how the IEM should work. So I have a thesis statement about the internet and how I think it should work.
Okay.
So in general, I'm a software engineer and I have a lot of opinions on shit. And it's one of the reasons that I hate Apple as a company is that their general philosophy is like, let us tell you how you want to use your machine based on all of our usability studies and shit. And I don't fucking care about any of this. It's all bullshit, right? Like I don't care how you want me to use your shit. I don't want to use it
I
that way.
remember Doug once complained about Microsoft Word because it's trying to make you write like a Californian. And that's funny, but it's also true.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means, but it's hilarious to me.
Open up Word and start typing. That's what it means.
If you're like, hello, it's like, did you mean Xia, bro? Did you did you mean hanged? Is that enough of a Californian stereotype or?
Whoa, bro. Now it's that Calibri font.
Oh yeah,
It's headings, it's spacings. Since Word is so ubiquitous, that is how you do it.
fair enough. All right.
Anyway,
Yeah. So my thesis statement is that I'm growing increasingly skeptical of hosted shit, like stuff that I don't control. Right. This goes for social media, like Facebook is a garbage can, Twitter's garbage can that's on fire, Reddit is a garbage can that smells differently than the Facebook garbage can, I guess. But you know, it's like all this shit is like the death of humanity.
well, yeah, I totally agree. You know, if you don't have control over it,
Yeah.
you know, and I understand. I probably don't go as far as you do because, like Plex, for example, as you pointed out, is not entirely standalone on your machine. It does.
No, but it's nice though. It's a nice piece of software.
You know, like Netflix loses The Office. I don't need Peacock Plus or whatever it is.
Right.
You know why? Because I own the DVDs and I rip them, and they are in my Plex, and I have them, and I can put my hand on the. Well, not right now. I'm on location, but I can. If I were at home, I could put my hands on The Office.
Right. And that totally, yeah. So, you know, there's something terrifying. I relied on Google Music for the longest time. And then they got rid of it in favor of YouTube Music.
Right. I had my library uploaded to Google Music too. This was before Plex and all that. That's how I streamed stuff before. Yep.
Yeah, same. But it's like I have no interest in using YouTube Music in the way that they intend for me to use it, right? Like, so this is another thing where it's like, oh, we think you should do it this way. And it's like, I don't really fucking care. Like, I do things the way I want to do them, and that's how I'm going to do it. So after growing increasingly, and I should also mention, I have no issue with paying for software that's valuable. So, like, I have seriously considered and still sometimes consider using or buying a lifetime membership to Plex because it's just such a nice piece of software.
Yeah. Watch for sales.
But at some point,
I should add Music B is free.
yes, yeah. So is Music Brain's Picard, which is what I use. So I at some point I was like, I had some backup software. It was like, I don't know, it was like Backblaze or something like that, which was nice. But I started growing increasingly concerned over like, okay, I have to use this in the way that they want me to use it. It's like I have to make sure that I have my files in a certain place or a certain way. And so I said, fuck it. So I built a home NAS, like a network attached storage system. But that's a little bit underselling what it is. I bought a Unraid. An Unraid is a NAS operating system that's basically built off of Linux. So I'm going to go full nerd. But it also
sound you hear is everyone turning off the podcast.
Yeah, basically.
Actually, if they made it past what I said, I think you're pretty good.
Yeah, I'm probably
You're in the clear.
But I got Unraid because I had been looking at Synology NASs, which can do a similar thing. But then I realized I had like this spare machine downstairs that was powerful than any Synology NAS, and I was like, why don't I just put some hard drives in it? Because it's going to cost the same amount of money either way at this point. But the other thing that it can do that's nifty is you can have persistent Docker containers running, right?
Oh, this is like an onion of nerdiness.
Yes.
This is amazing. Keep going.
So my initial want here was like, I want something that's like Dropbox, because I like Dropbox as a service that doesn't have a storage limit, or at least has a storage limit that I can defeat without having to pay a subscription.
That's right. Yeah, I've been trying to get off Dropbox too, and they took Google Photos away. I'd like a solution to that.
Oh,
Well, they didn't take it away. They stopped doing unlimited storage.
I somehow lucked it. I have an original Pixel phone. No, I inadvertently bought the thing that came with lifetime unlimited Google Photo storage. So I have unlimited Google Photo storage.
Can I send you some photos?
Yeah. Well, okay. So initially I was like, okay, I just want like Nextcloud. I want a way to host. I think it was for band files. I want a way to like back up and host band files. Because I got a little concerned over the fact that I've got, for the IEM rig, I've got all these backing tracks just like sitting on my hard drive. It's like, that's terrifying to me. I need them someplace.
Yeah, and these backing tracks, I believe, are all WAV files.
Yes, they are. They're not FLAC.
They might be like 16 channel WAV files. So basically, one file is the same as having 8 songs.
Yeah.
And they're not compressed. This is a nice tie back to earlier. This is the largest audio format you can have.
Right.
So yeah, there's huge files sitting somewhere.
Yeah, it works with the backing track player in our rig, and I need to be able to put these somewhere. They're too big for like Google Drive. They're too big for Dropbox. So I set up my own Nextcloud, which is like an open source way of having your own self-hosted Dropbox. And that's what I did. I put all the backing tracks there. Now they're kind of sitting in one central place. Anybody can access them. Not that anybody other than myself does. But if Tim said, "Hey," which you did the other day, right? You were like, "Do you have this?" And it's like,
yeah, I went looking for them.
Yeah. But now I can share them, and they're in a place that's, it's not quite totally backed up because, the server could die. So to tie onto that, I became a little bit concerned about that because I do value hosted services to a degree. Having something like Backblaze was nice because it's just, here's a backup of your whole machine. And we're going to host it and protect it. But Backblaze won't work on NASs, very explicitly so. CrashPlan does. So I put another Docker container that runs CrashPlan that literally just backs up the Unraid box. So it backs up Nextcloud and it backs up all my other hosted shit.
Didn't CrashPlan, don't you have to have a business account now?
Yeah, but I figure we have some notion of a business with ISENMOR.
We do, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, well, this is really to support like the endeavors of ISENMOR and other stuff that we do.
Considering the taxes we paid, yeah.
Yeah. So I now have a CrashPlan. It was for one machine. It's still $10 a month, but they have no issue with you putting it on a NAS. So now I can back up to my Unraid machine, and it just automatically, does everything. So now I've got 2 containers running on this thing, and I started thinking, like, what the hell else can I do with this? So my music collection has always been kind of floating. Like I would transfer it from machine to machine as I'd upgrade computers, but it would still just be like this dump of stuff that I would have, this MP3 or OGG Vorbis or FLAC. It's just like a random mishmash of shit. So I'm like, okay, well, let's put
OGG Vorbis, lossy format.
Which I've never messed with.
Yeah, it's fine. It's you'll see it when they don't want to pay the license for MP3.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
So look, Rock Band and all that, all the music in Rock Band and Guitar Hero was compressed with OGG.
And OGG is fine. There's nothing wrong with OGG.
Right. It just has the same inherent problems that MP3 does. And again,
Right.
you know, if you're listening to an OGG on through a TV speaker, it doesn't matter. You're not going to hear the difference. But if you have a really nice hi-fi, then maybe
You probably won't know this.
it's unlikely you'll hear the difference unless you've been
But maybe.
trained to, which again, I don't recommend.
All right. So I'm trying. So now I realize basically what I have is just like this little hosting box. It's like, what else can I put on here? So I put my music collection in there. Like, well, how can I enable access to my music collection? So, I start thinking about Plex because I can host Plex on this thing. But like, what else is out there? So I found a few other things. There's Subsonic, which is fairly typical.
What is
there's
Sonic?
So Subsonic is basically a way of hosting your music collection. You can you hit a site on the web, and you can access a Subsonic instance through a web interface, but then listen to it. And there's Subsonic clients that you can access through things like MusicBee.
Nice.
But then Subsonic's UI is pretty sloppy because it's very functional and it's good. It's just it doesn't look pretty. So I started looking to a few others, and I ended up with Jellyfin, which is basically a Plex competitor. So, and it started off, Jellyfin forked off from some other software that is actually like a direct Plex, like subscription-based competitor. But Jellyfin's a self-hosted fork of it. So what I have now with this NAS box, I have a drive mapped to my local machine. I use MusicBrainz Picard that will tag off of MusicBrainz, rename the files, and then move them automatically to a network drive. This network drive gets picked up by Jellyfin, which will then automatically refresh with the most recent, whatever I just added. In fact, during this podcast, I added something just because I remembered I had never.
That's great. Yeah, that is similar to how Plex works. You just copy the files over to where it's looking for the files, and then it adds it, comes up on your little interface.
So let me go a few steps further and get a little bit divorced from music, because just to show kind of what I'm thinking. So at some point I'm like, so I have the music server, and it's like, well, how do I give access only to people that I want to have it? Because I don't want to just stream music. So I set up an LDAP server, which is a single sign-on method, which basically allows you to kind of have one uniform login for everything. And I have myself, I have Tim, my wife, and then one or two other people, like some friends from the internet. So those specific people have access to my music through LDAP. But then I was like, well, I have LDAP. What other services can I add? So I have a chat server I have a Matrix chat server that you can also sign in via LDAP if you're in the correct group in LDAP. But I decided that I liked Matrix, and I wanted to stop using, because I still use instant messengers. I still use Google Chat and other shit. So I was like, well,
me too.
Yeah. So it's like, how can I just marry all this shit together? Because I actually don't care about who's messaging me from where. And I had been using Pigeon, which is basically a multi-protocol chat client, but that's kind of... So basically, for Matrix, I have integrated in a bunch of bots that bridge the various chat protocols that I use. So then from there, I was like, well... there's a few things I'd like to start working on, some source code of my own projects, and automating it is a little difficult. It's like there's automation services online, but they're kind of slowly becoming more pay oriented. Some of them are free. So you can have like Travis CI or Circle CI, which are free, but if you do it to it. So I set up my own Git server on my machine.
Oh
And then
man.
I was like, well, but this the Git's fine, but I still don't have any CI automation. So I found out a way to host. I have my own continuous integration server, which can trigger off of Git commits. So I could basically do things like use Git as an authoritative source for something, and then have the CI go and like, or I'll say CI/CD. And this is getting completely off of Metal. This is no longer Metal. This is now software engineering. But then I could have the CI/CD trigger some other shit. But I could potentially use this to automate processes that I would really rather not be involved with. And one of the processes that I would like to automate is I've got an MP3 player in my car and I've got a USB stick plugged into it. And I'd like to not, and this is not something that I've solved yet, but I'd like to not have to bring it inside and put the new music on it and then sync it. So I read that there's at least one or more projects where somebody actually got a Raspberry Pi Zero
Okay.
and put it and plugged their MP3 player into it, and then basically tricked, or well, they plugged their like USB drive into the Raspberry Pi into their music player, so they
Right.
basically they were able to flub the USB drive through to the MP3 player, so it still recognizes this as an MP3 player, but
But you
there's
can
now
change the files remotely.
yes. So the idea is I drive into my house, this thing connects to my Wi-Fi, and then automatically picks up new shit. I'm not quite there yet. I don't have a good picture in my head for exactly how that's going to work.
I love the idea.
Yeah, the idea is fantastic. It's the part I'm not sure about is like how to flub between the Raspberry Pi and the thumb drive. That being said, yeah, my whole process is basically centered around having to do as little as humanly possible to get what I want.
Well, it sounds like you've done a whole lot.
In order to support this,
Right.
but to be fair, this is what I do for a living, and I actually, well, okay, this sounds more aspirational than I normally. I actually like this stuff, so it's fun to hack on and get it to work. But it's like my ideal state is that I do like nothing, and everything that I want to happen happens. So that's what I'm trying to do. It's like, I don't mind a few manual processes here and there. I just don't want to have to really do anything once I've kicked it off. So that's my goal.
Nice. Yeah. So the big advantage to both of our processes is that, the music doesn't go away or
Right.
whatever. It doesn't go
Yeah.
away. And I feel like that in addition to when you buy something, you are supporting the artists, and,
Yes.
and time and time again, unless you're a major label, you're not making money off Spotify, especially not livable money.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it sounds like I have a very insane process dedicated to music, but it sounds like your music process is but a square on a tapestry of insane processes. That's what it sounds like to me.
However, the music process is not as detailed as yours. Like your process gets a much finer end result. My process gets a more functional end result. So in that way, it's more pragmatic until you start getting into all the shit that I did to make it work. It's pragmatic from like a music hosting perspective. It's just not pragmatic from a how I got there perspective.
Oh, I'll come over with a hard drive of properly tagged flax, and
Yeah, we'll get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, put everything together. So, I guess the question to our listeners is, whose process is more insane? Drop us a line. Let us know. We'll have results. I don't know if we'll share those results, but
Yeah. I don't know if anybody will vote either, but you know that we can dream.
Oh, they'll vote. If they made it this far, you know they're gonna vote.
True. I just wonder how many people's eyes glazed over when I started describing CICD.
I've paid less attention during Star Trek episodes, so
That's good. At least I'm more interesting. I like Star Trek, but yeah, at least I'm more interested in the Star Trek. Given our two processes, one of the things that's really fascinating is how much time we both spend trying to impose a strong order on the data. And the reason I think
the data. I mean, yes, it's the data.
It is. No, but like think about Inbox by Google. So I don't even know if does that project still exist?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think didn't they take the best parts of it and just shove it into Gmail?
Yeah, I think you're right. But so the concept behind Inbox is that like everybody sucks at organizing their own shit. Nobody wants to do it, so we're just going to try to do it for you, right? And more or less everything's sort of gravitating in this way, where it's just like here's just like a pile of bullshit. Just make sense of it.
Yeah, well, that's how Google Photos tried to work.
Yeah, it actually does a pretty good job,
but,
frankly. Like
I probably unsurprisingly, I liked having Picasa, and I'd bring files in, and I'd make an album, and then send that to Google Photos. That's what I preferred. Now it's like, type in anything, and I'll give you pictures that you're not looking for. It's like, thanks, Google. You failed.
like nominally, I'm the same way. Like I enjoy the order, but like human nature is just like if you think about like what you do on a day-to-day basis, like you get home and you're not like, I have this new thing that I like. Doesn't matter, mail, a CD. It's just like most people are just like, I just want to put it somewhere. And I find it fascinating that there are certain things, and I know this is the case for me. There are certain things that I will not go to these depths to impose order on, but there are certain things that I will. Not many, but there's quite a bit of stuff that I just like, fuck it. I'll just put it here, and if I need it again, maybe I'll remember it. And then there's stuff like the music where it's like, no. I need an authoritative source from Music Brains, community curated. I need to make sure that the file names are exactly aligned so that depending on which MP3 player I use, the sorting is correct. Did it?
That is a good point. I did gloss over. The files have a naming scheme that is imposed on them.
Yes. Yeah, but you know, we as a species suck at this. Everything is gravitating towards trying to do it for you, but Tim and I say, no, fuck you. We're doing it. We don't want you to do it. That's
right. We know best.
Yeah.
And what's more metal than imposing order on chaos?
Oh. That's pretty good. That's pretty good perfect. Right there.
Yep. Thanks for listening to Podcast Them Down. You can find Burning Shadows, ISENMOR, and recently vacated graves on Bandcamp, as well as Facebook, along with Fade to Black Metallica Tribute and Podcast Them Down itself. Until next time, keep it metal.